Hello, I'm Karen Elgersma at the Royal BC Museum, and the Vikings have landed. And you're watching Go Island on Shaw TV. On today's show, Dan Kahn chats with a guy who will inspire you to live your life with more love and laughter. And Mayfair Mall is on the search for a new stylist. All that and much more on Go Island. We're here at the Royal BC Museum. The Vikings have landed. Oh yes, they have. And this has been such an anticipated event. I work with somebody who is obsessed with the Vikings, has watched every documentary she can get her hands on. So many people are excited. But for people who don't know about the exhibit, what's here and why is it such a special exhibit for the Royal BC Museum?
I think it's special, first of all, the quantity of material that we've gathered. 550 pieces. They're Scandinavian pieces. They're mainly from Sweden, many from the island of Birka, for those of you who've been there, very close to Stockholm on Lake Malar. Right. So quite a lot from archaeological finds. There's some underwater finds too that have been discovered. Quite a lot of coins, musical instruments, everyday items, and beautiful, beautiful jewelry. I mean, amongst the most precious jewelry that's ever left Sweden. And this is the first time the majority of these things have ever been seen in North America. In fact, this is probably only the second time for some objects that have ever left Sweden. So I'm very excited that we've got something of a first here.
From historical figures to present-day heroes, our very own Dan Kahn sat down with one man who has turned tragedy into triumph. We're at the Royal BC Museum today. It is an exciting day because it's the opening of an exhibit that is near and dear to my heart because I'm Icelandic. It's the Vikings exhibit. And there are so many layers and so many things of interest in this exhibit. But I'm very interested in what you've contributed because it really brings it home. So first of all, Grant, tell us about the exhibit that you've been hands-on putting together.
Well, I was involved in putting together a small module looking at the Canadian connection and some of the Viking fakery that's gone on in North America down in the Clifford Carl Hall. But I also have a real passion for looking at human beings as they spread throughout the world, and all my ancestors from Scotland, but of course a large number of people in Scotland are Viking.
Right.
And many of these people are a mixed bag. So when you look at things like the fact that the majority of women in Iceland are from a Celtic background, there's this incredible story that's waiting to be told there. I've been here for 42 years, and this is the best exhibit in terms of the quality of the information and the way it's organized. You have these nice little enclaves that deal with, say, religion, their farming life, their boating life. So this is what I really love about this exhibit.
So when people are coming, what wisdom would you give them so they can really get the most out of their experience in this exhibit?
Well, just simply connecting with particular types of artifacts. I mean, when you look at, for example, this large ship we have here, and what you have suspended is a bunch of rivets suspended in the air, and in the shape of a boat. What's that all about? Well, when archaeologists excavate these huge ships, the wood is often all rotted, and what you find is a black stain in the shape of a ship, but you might find, 175 rivets. So by pinpointing those rivets, you can tell the shape and the size of the ship, just phenomenal stuff. So this exhibit really blends together the archaeology with the ethnographic and historic information. So most of these sagas written about Vikings, the vast majority of those were written in Iceland, 300 years after the sagas were oral history. So there's this fascinating ability to connect these very early documents with the archaeology, and there's some of the personal body adornment is just absolutely incredible. To look at some of these beautiful little silver carvings, and what you see is a blending of artistic tradition from many different cultures.
I could talk to you all day. You're more interesting than Indiana Jones. But we have to head out to Mayfair Mall now because Mayfair is looking for their next stylist. And our very own Raji Kabli decided she would be one of the judges in a competition. This is such a fun story. Welcome back to Go Island. The Vikings have arrived here at the Royal BC Museum, and this exhibit is so interactive and so fascinating. For example, they have this little section here, Creation of the World, sort of dealing with the myths and the beliefs of the time. And you can actually, by touching it, find out, okay, what did they think of hell? And as you touch it, they open up, and not only do they show you visually and have sort of the story of what that is, but look the way it bounces off the white here. It's just so magical. And one of the things I learned is the Vikings didn't believe that hell was fire and brimstone. It was ice and cold. So interesting. Now, we're gonna head out to Salt Spring Island, not on a Viking boat, on a BC ferry. Meg Katzberg went to visit Salt Spring Island Soapworks. From Salt Spring Island back to Victoria at the Royal BC Museum, we are here at the brand new, very much anticipated Vikings exhibit. It is such a special, one-of-a-kind experience to wander through here. And we are here with really the guy who made this happen. You were really the person who carefully chose what would go in here. I loved it that you called it, some of these pieces, your darlings.
Yes, there are. Some of them are like good old friends for me.
How do you make those decisions in order to make it as engaging as it possibly can be?
Well, you have to look at the objects, of course, how they look themselves, and if they can travel as far as they will do, because they have been in Australia before and in Europe. This is the fourth stop for this exhibition. You also look at if they are typical for the Viking Age and what they can tell. That is important, I think, because many of the objects you will recognize, and you will see many examples of some of them, and they tell different stories in different contexts. And that's interesting, I think, because a drinking horn could be a symbol for a goddess, but it could also be a symbol for the strong women who welcomed guests in the halls, the Viking aristocrats' hall. So, and jewelry could, yes, and jewelry could be a source for the dress, but also any information gives information about the religion, handicrafts, and so on.
If you had to give somebody wisdom in order for them to get the most out of their experience when they come here, what would you tell them in order to really maximize the enjoyment of this exhibit?
I think that they should stay extra long. They should use the interactive stations we have, because they are very, very smart. And it makes also, if you bring the family, the kids will love excavating a boat grave or building a Viking ship or looking at different kind of dresses, costumes. You should take time to read the information, because there are so much to learn here, and of course look at the objects. You shouldn't only read, you should stay long time and look at the objects, because they are really, really worth it.
And I would say come again and again and again, because every time you come, there'll be something else that you'll sink your teeth into.
Yeah, I think so too. And you will get in here and say, oh my God, was that on display? I didn't remember that.
And you too will discover your darlings.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. You've done an
much.
Extraordinary job of creating an exhibit that I know will be memorable, and it'll be one of those exhibits that we talk about in Victoria for years to come.
I hope so.
You know so. We have to take a very short break, but please go nowhere. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the First World War on Fort Rod Hill. Welcome back to Go Island. We're at the Royal BC Museum. The Vikings exhibit is officially here. It's such an incredibly layered exhibit. There are lots of things to look at. Like, this is actually called a picture stone. There's things to read. There's interactive displays. There's music and sound, and it's just so much fun. And in fact, one of the things that I love about it is they've made it very fun for children of all ages. Now we're going to head out to Fort Rod Hill, where they are reenacting a little piece of history themselves. After wandering through the Vikings exhibit at the Royal BC Museum, I have to say my Icelandic blood was calling out to me, and now I just feel, I don't know, Vikingish. And of course, if you come to the gift store on your way out, you can have fun purchasing all these little things and come home and, I don't know, just get your Viking on. Make sure you come and experience this exhibit many times. It will be here till the 11th of November. So much to see. There's going to be lectures, all sorts of activities. Go to the Royal BC Museum website and find out how you can get your Viking on. Hope to see you there.
Women's clothing provided by Tulip Noir, casual designer fashions. Men's wardrobe by DG Bremner & Co. Menswear and accessories. Hair services provided by Salon J.